Russian social media is seething about their failure in Avdiivka, or at least failure so far. We are going to take a look at where they're trying to push, where they've had even incremental progress, and what the reality on the ground is for those Russian troops. I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's October 14th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get right into it. Okay, first, taking a look at the control map, there's been a couple of changes to the front line. First off is the what they are calling partial success, Russian forces advancing near Novomyakhalivka. I don't know how to pronounce that because this is not anywhere near where the main Russian offensive effort has originated. You can see here this open terrain that was, where Ukraine has pushed back Russian forces some time ago has now been reoccupied by Russian forces. You can see they're advancing along this windbreak here, moving likely along these kind of two windbreaks along these rivers, moving towards this town of Novomyakhalivka, but itself is maybe part of possibly a Russian effort to kind of sort of encircle the town. But this is really not a substantive advance. We've seen that Russian forces may aspire to sort of encircle or cut off defenders within this town, but they'd have to really advance considerably along this northern flank. And with the town of Pobeda in Ukrainian hands, it seems like Russian forces would have their work cut out for them. So while this could be part of a sort of campaign, it's more likely just sort of opportunistic seizing of territory. You can see that it is literally, it looks like several hundred miles, probably around 100 kilometers, only 30 kilometers from the downtown Avdiivka. Actually, we'll get this accurate here. It's about 40 kilometers from the Avdiivka salient. So it's unfair to say that these are linked events. This may be part of like a fixing operation to prevent Ukrainian forces from redeploying troops, but this is not a very active sector. So who is going to be redeployed out of it? I think it just reflects Russia seizing opportunities where they have them. Also, you have some changes near Vodiane and Krasnohorivka. These are the two north and south prongs of Russia's effort to encircle Avdiivka. You can see here they show less contested area, right? Russian offensive action appears to have been blunted a little bit, with Russian forces advancing a few 100 meters, a few dozen meters really, into these two tree lines here. A lot of effort though. I can't show you, but I have been on Twitter and it is awash in videos of just Russian armored forces getting absolutely crushed at scale, both inside of Avdiivka itself near the coke plant, likely in this area here, but also in and around these northern prongs. The cost to Russia is tremendous for what you're seeing. Marginal gain. You're seeing here this prong outside of Krasnohorivka. This is not really advancing Russia's goal of taking this windbreak here. You see, it doesn't move towards encircling Avdiivka. It just sort of, the phrase in a leaked call or a leaked post that we're going to take a look at is compressing the perimeter. It's sort of pressuring Ukrainian forces on either side, but it doesn't actually move towards the encirclement that Russia is obviously going for. Looking over at the combat map, you can see not a lot of updates yet. Some reports that Russian army forces are transitioning to an offensive footing in Makivka and Kupiansk. We've heard these stories before. We heard some big, 6 months ago, we heard some big game-changing 100,000 soldier offensive in the north that never materialized. And so while I believe that Russian forces are probably quickening the pace of their offensives, I don't think we're going to see any big operations in this area. Guys, if have you not heard of Strike Gum yet? When I was in Afghanistan, I had to carry around these gross energy drinks called Rippets. They were loaded with sugar. They were super disgusting. You felt bloated after drinking them. And in the desert heat of Afghanistan, they were like 105 degrees when you drank them. There was everything wrong with them. And so finally, I have an opportunity to create something that is just better in every way. This is Strike Gum. Strike Gum has the same amount of caffeine as an energy drink, 90 milligrams in there, but zero sugar, right? Fits right in your pocket. So this little pack is the equivalent of 5 energy drinks. And you could throw it in your gym bag, throw it in your pocket. You could chew this while you're driving. And I've worked with a manufacturer in Denver to ensure that when you chew it, just trust me, guys. The reviews are definitely in. You feel the rush for sure. Faster, I would argue, than an energy drink. You'll see what I mean if you try it. But most important of all, 50% of the profits from this first production run support Ukrainian refugees who've been injured or displaced by the conflict. So if you're interested in supporting Ukraine, checking out a great energy drink alternative, go to strikegum.com and get yours today. Okay, now let's take a look at this stuff from War Translated. This is an account that trolls Russian social media and pulls out some of the assessments of what's really going on and brings it into the English language media space. Very important work by Dmitry here and very, very useful insights. So let's take a look here. This is a breakdown of the Avdiivka operation from a Russian source from Telegram recently, and it discusses why they think Avdiivka has failed. It points out that the analyst says it's important to understand as soon as we, this is Russia, try to attack ourselves, all the laws of positional impasse will turn against us. And we've talked about this, the way this is pivoted to a defensive war. And just as it was so difficult for Ukraine to offensively take the fight to Russia in Zaporizhzhia, it's comparably difficult for Russia to take the fight to Ukraine. And we've seen the results here. Avdiivka was supposed to be a stunning, unexpected success. They point out that the Ukrainians really were not exceptionally prepared for this attack. All observers said that Ukrainian counter battery fire didn't look fully prepared for the Russian assault. The reconnaissance and preparation of the battlefield targeted Ukrainian headquarters elements and commanders. Russian units rolled out their best high precision weapons. Even helicopters, armored units, their best artillery, incendiaries, everything carefully prepared, right? This was a very, very, very well-prepared operation against an enemy that really didn't seem aware at all that it was happening. And still, despite all of that, Russia was unable to advance into Avdiivka in any meaningful way. And of course, as they point out, once your hand has been revealed that this is an area where you want to attack, Ukrainian armed forces will pivot more of their units, their reserves, into the area, locking the battle lines in place. Exactly what we've seen already in and around Zaporizhzhia. You can see here that, right, as Ukrainian forces poured forces into this breakthrough, Russian forces commensurately repositioned their troops. And so it turned this breakthrough salient into a total static position. You're going to see the same thing here as Russian forces increasingly concentrate in Avdiivka to try to push the advantage. Because their momentum has already been stopped, Ukrainian forces will pour in at a faster rate, slowing everything down. And as you can see here, they point out that, again, fighting a delaying action, they say it was enough for Ukrainians to slow down the compression of the Russian pincers, right, the two prongs, to an acceptably slow rate for the Ukrainian armed forces, right, for them to deploy their own reserves in and stabilize the lines. They point out that, again, this simply is the Russian army want to change beyond recognition if they want the war to end with any kind of significant victory. I think the problem is that the Russian army has done a lot of evolving, but ultimately without a game-changing piece of technology that somehow only Russia gets, it's going to be a tall order. Ukraine itself will have to evolve if they'll have the same problem. They need some sort of next level technology, next level tactic, next level enabler to break this Russian stalemate. And as you can see from Institute for the Study of War, they are pointing out the exact same thing using the same phrase, compress the Ukrainian perimeter. In fact, I think this is probably a reference to the exact same MilBlogger, who ISW says this is actually a volunteer with an LNR brigade within the Russia's Second Army Corps. All in all, guys, this is a sign that Russian social media is aware of what the Kremlin probably isn't, that their efforts in Avdiivka have failed. These lines seem like they may very well be locked in pending some kind of big technological or tactical game-changing event. And that means you're going to see Russia and Ukraine look probably further and farther to try to find ways to break what increasingly looks like a tactical or operational stalemate on the battlefield, namely political changes in the environment. Anyway, that's all I had, guys. Thanks to our Colonel tier members. Be sure to check us out at combatvetnews.com, where we are going to take a look at all of this crazy footage coming out of Avdiivka next week. But you got to be a member to check it out. Thanks to our Lieutenant tier members, our Colonel tier members, and all of our members. Just hit subscribe. See you in the next one. Cheers.